بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم اغفر لنا ولشيخنا ولجميع المسلمين. قال المؤلف رحمه الله: ومن جامع في نهار رمضان في قبل أو دبر فعليه القضاء والكفارة، وإن جامع دون الفرج فأنزل، أو كانت المرأة معذورة، أو جامع من كان نوى الصوم في سفره أفطر ولا كفارة. وإن جامع في يومين أو كرره في يوم ولم يكفر فكفارة واحدة في الثانية، وفي الأول 2. وإن جامع ثم كفر ثم جامع في يومه فكفارة ثانية، وكذلك من لزمه الإمساك إذا جامع. ومن جامع وهو معافا ثم مرض أو جن أو سافر لم تسقط، ولا تجب الكفارة بغير الجماع في صيام رمضان، وهي عتق رقبة، فإن لم يجد فصيام شهرين متتابعين، فإن لم يستطع فإطعام 60 مسكينا، فإن لم يجد سقطت.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين، أما بعد. طيب, we will talk about first a quick summary, inshallah, of what we discussed in the last dars and a few additional points on what does and what does not invalidate the fast. And this is very important because inshallah this will be our last dars before Ramadan. And then today's dars will really be around jima', yani when you have intercourse in the daytime in Ramadan, and that's a very serious issue. But from what we studied last time, I'm just going to go down a list, and inshallah I'm going to pause at answering, so those that are watching the video can also pause the video and see if they got the answer right, and if not, why not? If I ask, does this break the fast or not, and if you don't get it right, go watch the last dars. Again. First, what about somebody who smokes?
Yes.
Does smoking break the fast? Yes, it does. Not only is it a sin and you have ithm, so there are a few different things, right? There is ithm, there is qada, and then there is kafara. These three things, you should get used to these, right? Ithm means it's a sin. Some things could be sinful, but they don't break the fast. Some things will have ithm, they will be sinful, and they will require qada. They will require you to make up the fast. And a third additional thing are things where it will be an ithm, it will be a sin, it will require qada, you will have to make up the day, and you will have to then do kafara. What is the kafara? We'll discuss inshallah. It's called expiation. In English we say expiation. We have kafara yameen, we have kafara of in hajj and all those are all, they have their own ahkam, they have their own rulings. We're talking about kafara having to do with as-siyam. Tayyib. So, is smoking going to be ithm? Yes. Is it going to require qada? Meaning if somebody smokes a cigarette during the daytime in Ramadan, you will have to, would you do imsak or not? If you smoke and you be like, well, get the food now, man, I already broke it. La. You'll have to make imsak. You will not eat and drink and do all the rules and regulations the rest of the day, but you have to make up that day. Tayyib, does it require kafara? No. There is only one thing that requires kafara, and we'll get to that. Tayyib, eye drops. Tayyib, eye drops, in essence, do not invalidate the fast. So if you put couple of eye drops because you have irritated eyes, it is not taking the place of food or drink and so on. But if you put so much that the taste of it or the effect of it is felt in the throat, then it would invalidate the fast. That would be very unusual. Be very unusual. Tayyib, I'm not going to go deep into adillah because we already discussed in the last dars, but the dalil for that in easy is that if you wash your face, water gets in your eyes. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made wudu during siyam. It didn't invalidate the fast. So eye drops by themselves will not invalidate. But if somebody puts so much that they can taste the taste of it, just like kohol that we discussed, and we'll discuss again, then because of it taking the place of something going in your jawf, through your throat, yani that would take the place of food and drink, then it would invalidate the fast. But in essence, it does not. Tayyib, what about makeup? Makeup, once again, does not invalidate the fast, unless you, I don't know, eat your lipstick or something, but that's something a little bit weird. But regularly, makeup does not invalidate the fast. Tayyib, now we get to injections, shots, taking a shot. And this is very important because a lot of people are going to be taking the COVID-19 vaccine during the day in Ramadan, because I think in a week or something they're opening it up for everybody, and that means and a lot of people have this question. Shots or injections are broken into two subcategories. One is that which is nutritional, something that has nutrition in it, meaning somebody gets a B12 shot, or somebody gets a vitamin C shot, or somebody gets glucose, or insulin, or anything that would take the place of nutrition. The point of that shot is to give you some nutrition. That does invalidate the fast because it's tashbihan. It gives the same effect as eating and drinking, right? So that would, any shot, any injection, any one of those that does not take the place of nutrition, meaning even though you're getting a shot, but it's not something that goes into your stomach, through your throat, or through your, this is not taking the place of that, nor does it really give you nutrition, like it's not meant to be nutritious, then those shots do not break the fast. As far as I understand it, and there are different, there's the Pfizer and Moderna, and then the other ones that are out there and things, J&J and so on. But the essence is that none of them are nutritious. None of them are nutritious. So none of those would invalidate the fast. The COVID-19 vaccine shot would not invalidate the fast. Tayyib, what about cupping? The one who does cupping and the one who has cupping done to, the one who's doing the actual process and the one that's getting it done, it invalidates the fast. Obviously, eating and drinking invalidates the fast. Swimming does not invalidate the fast, except if you intentionally swallow water, right? Meaning, if you're swimming in Ramadan, then you have to be very careful that you don't swallow water. So, if there is a chance you're going to swallow water, then don't swim. But if you're a really good swimmer and you're not going to swallow water, you're going to keep your nose and mouth closed somehow, or you can keep your head out of the water, you can. Like water going into your other orifices, that does not invalidate the fast, even the ears and so on. But if you do swallow water, like gulp it water down, then that would invalidate the fast. So it's best thing, don't go swimming in Ramadan in the daytime. But if you did, and as long as you didn't swallow water, now minor amounts unintentionally that you had no control over and so on would be forgiven. But regular amounts of water that would be considered the way of drinking and so on would invalidate the fast. Tayyib, one of the sisters asked a question about henna. Putting henna, during Ramadan, it does not invalidate the fast. Taking a bath or shower, making wudu, ghusl, none of that invalidates the fast. But you should not do mubalagha. You should not exaggerate in the madmada and istinshaq when putting water in your mouth and nose. Cutting hair, trimming nails, in essence, hugging or kissing somebody, as far as like maybe you go to your little child and you kiss them on the head or your so on, does not invalidate the fast. Obviously, if we're going to get swap of saliva, then that would invalidate the fast. Other than that, it does not. Vomiting, excellent question. You'll break into two. If it's intentional, you make yourself vomit, it invalidates the fast. If it's unintentional and you just vomit it out, you're fine. Doesn't matter the amount. If you vomit and you swallow it intentionally, then you're about to vomit, you're like, I don't want to vomit. It's already come past your throat, it's in your mouth, and you swallow it, it will invalidate the fast. This will only require qada. No kafara any of these. Tayyib? Toothpaste, brushing your teeth. Always a good question. The hukam on toothpaste is like that of tasting food. Meaning if somebody has a necessity to it, you need to, maybe you got to go to work and obviously you may have to deal with some breath issues because of not eating, but you want to mitigate that as much as possible because you're working, and so you want to brush your teeth. And you brush your teeth and none of the toothpaste goes past your throat, meaning you brush it very carefully, you spit everything out, it does not invalidate the fast. If it is unnecessarily, you don't really need to brush your teeth, you're just doing it for fun or whatever, there is karaha there, it's makruh, and we'll discuss that. But if you need to brush your teeth and you do, and as long as you don't swallow anything from it, you're fine. Siwak, again, does not. But if chunks of the siwak are swallowed, like you see a chunk that's in your mouth, and you take it and you swallow it, then that would. So if the siwak is being used in minor amounts unintentionally, that's different, but big chunks would invalidate the fast. Tayyib. Having a wet dream or something that is uncontrolled, even if it's from thoughts, does not invalidate the fast. Obviously, having spousal relationship does, and we'll talk about that today. What about lying or cussing or using bad language? This will have ithm, but it will not invalidate the fast, even though you will lose the reward of your fast, and there is tahreem on it, especially during fasting. And we'll talk about that today, inshallah. Self-stimulation, the secret habit as they call it, that does invalidate the fast, and it's a sin. All right, Zakir. Blood tests, if it's a small amount of blood, it will not invalidate the fast. If it's a large amount, that would be the like of cupping, then it would invalidate the fast. But small amounts of blood given for testing does not. Having a tooth removed or having your teeth worked on by itself does not invalidate the fast. But if in the process you do swallow some of the water or something external, then it would invalidate the fast. An inhaler, like for those that have lung issues, asthma and so on, if it is used as steam, the inhaler, when it's in that gas format, it does not invalidate the fast. But if you use it continuously where it becomes like liquid and you can taste it, then it would invalidate the fast. So if you have asthma and you take an inhaler, they have the little tube thing especially, and you just use it for that, then there is no problem with that. But some people take it and they start doing a lot, where the gas now becomes into a liquid and then it drips down your throat, that would invalidate the fast, especially if you can taste it in your throat. Bleeding, a nosebleed or a bleeding for the gums and so on does not invalidate the fast. Swallowing small amounts of blood from a tooth, maybe you have a crack in your gum or so on, would not invalidate the fast. But if you bunch it up, like you hold it and then drink it, and we'll talk about that, it's kind of disgusting anyway, but then it could invalidate the fast and at minimum be makruh. We'll talk about that in today's dars. Tayyib. Smelling atar or bukhur. When you have the nice smells or perfume or whatever, that in itself does not invalidate the fast. The bukhur, the smoke one, also does not invalidate the fast. But if you take so much that you can taste it, and with bukhur, I know some of the eye drops and stuff, it may be an odd case to be able to taste it, but with bukhur I've had, you've gone to people's houses and they put that bukhur in your face and you're like, Jazakallah khair, but they really want you to enjoy it, so they give you so much that you can really taste it in your throat. That would invalidate the fast. So if you are going to smell bukhur, smell it from afar. Don't get all up on it. Tayyib. This was kind of a summary. Now, what we've discussed today. وَمَنْ جَامَعَ فِي النَّهَارِ Ramadan. The first thing the muallif begins with. The one who has spousal relations, intercourse, in the daytime in Ramadan. Tayyib. What does that exclude from it? That's the first thing to understand. When you read a matan, you understand what it includes and what it excludes. People understand sometimes what it includes without benefiting from the precise writing of the author. And that's why the authors, they did such a great job of mentioning so many masail in few words. What we see obviously is the issue of spousal relations during the daytime in Ramadan, and that does invalidate the fast, and we'll discuss that today inshallah. But reading that line in the matan, what do you understand is excluded from that? Right? Is those is other than jima'. And if somebody maybe has fondling or hugging or kissing, and those things are not included in this hukam that we're going to discuss. طيب? The second thing, it does not include the night of Ramadan, obviously, because it says nahar. The third thing, it does not include other fasting. Meaning if it's a nafal fast outside of Ramadan and somebody has spousal relations, then the kafara we will discuss is not applicable on them. And this is something very important. Many people don't know this hukam. People think this is for any time. And I know people in other countries that were fasting, and he asked them what happened. He said, I'm making up 2 months. What happened? I was doing a nafal fast and I had spousal relations, and the Shaykh told me I gotta do this. And I told him, no, this is outside of Ramadan. Nafal fasting, the hukam is not applicable. The next thing, as Al-Buyuti mentioned in Rawd al-Murbi' and other shuruh, is what if it's a day of makeup for Ramadan? Like you're making up a day, mu'tamadan in the madhab, and what is clear is that is also not included. That is a makeup day. It is not the day of Ramadan in Ramadan. And that's why it mentions in Ramadan, not just for Ramadan. طيب. Whether it is the regular vaginal or from the front or the back, those are both going to be, they will both have, now you will have itham because you did it during the day in Ramadan. Second, you will have qada. You will have to make up that day. Okay? And on top of that, you will have kafara, the expiation. What is expiation here? We'll discuss that in the lesson, inshallah. But we mentioned 3 things, right? So there is itham. So if for example, somebody drinks alcohol in the daytime in Ramadan, will they get sin? Yes, they get sin. Okay? So there is itham involved here. Then you have qada. If somebody gets her haid in the daytime in Ramadan, does she have itham? La. Does she have qada? Yes. And the last thing is kafara. Nothing that we've mentioned on our list up in the earlier summary requires kafara. This is the first and only thing that requires kafara, is jima' fi nahar al-Ramadan, is spousal relations in the daytime in Ramadan. Tayyib. Now we get to, if somebody has such they have something that ejaculates outside of the body, no vaginal or back entry, no entrance, has that, then if it was on purpose, from fondling and so on, it will require qada, but it will not require kafara. طيب? So this is now, the muallif is mentioning the exceptions. طيب? This is one. Secondly, another person who would not require kafara, although they will have qada, is going to be for the woman who's forced, like the husband forced. Under force, there is 3 subcategories, as in the shuruh of Zad that we always mention. One is jahl. Somebody didn't know the hukam, right? Now, will that apply to the man as well or not? There is khilaf ulama. But at least for the woman, jahl is an excuse. She didn't know, and the husband coerced her into it, so she will have qada, but not kafara. But if she was willing and she knew, then she will also have the 2 months. Men and women are the same. For the men, many of the ulama said he will not get this excuse because it was a responsibility to know and so on, but wallahu alam. And so one is ignorance. Second is unknowingly, nasyan. She didn't realize it, right? She will be excused, but not him. Right? And the third is force, as we mentioned. So all this will be under force, ma'dhura, when she is forced. In those situations, she will have to make up the day, but not kafara. The man, he will still have to do kafara. Tayyib. The third scenario here is for the one. Tayyib. I'll throw this question out. I taught this matan very briefly in another country once. And I asked this question, everybody got it wrong. But now you guys will get it right because of context here. But tayyib, somebody in Ramadan is traveling. You're traveling in Ramadan and you decide, I'm going to fast. You have the option not to fast, but you decide, I'm going to fast. And you're traveling with your family, just you and your spouse, and you have relations in Ramadan while fasting, while traveling. Do you have kafara or not? Have khilaf of ulama. Yes, yes, no. Anybody else? No? Yes? Man, mashallah. We're almost evenly split. Yes? Yes? I think the yeses are more. Abdul Mateen, what do you think? No? No? Adam, you know why he said no? Because the context. The correct answer is no. But why? This is where us, Kullatul Hadith, Tullab, our minds get, what? Right? But this is where and again, I'm including myself in those Kullatul Hadith. My graduation is also from Kullatul Hadith. But the Usul al-Fiqh guys will get it. Tayyib. Kafara is due for Jama'ah during Ramadan. That is correct. But if you're traveling, do you have the option of breaking your fast without ithm? Yes. Right? When you're traveling, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has given you a rukhsa that you can break the fast without sin. Tayyib, how can you break your fast? Eating, drinking, jama'ah. Is there any mana on it? No. All those methods are open to you to utilize to break your fast because you have the excuse, the rukhsa, the concession given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if somebody utilizes jama'ah as the method to break the fast, there is no sin on them because they had that and they have no kafara. Will they have qada? Yes. But no kafara. So this, whoever said no is correct. And this is a very interesting, like I said, I was teaching this shortly in another country and all the brothers were tullab ilm, mashallah already, but they wanted to study Zad, so we were going over this and I asked this question, everybody got it wrong. You guys, mashallah, at least you 50-50'd it almost, right? Because if you take just the essence of the hadith, and we'll talk about the hadith and so on, then Rasulullah had ordered kafara. But the usul, which we sometimes just looking at the hadith don't understand, is that does the person have an option without ithm, without to break the fast? Yes, no doubt. And if that is true, then if they use this method, would there be any sin? Would they have kafara? No. So that is correct. Tayyib. Then we get to the second clarification. If somebody has jama'ah and then they give the kafara, let's say, let's use, and we'll get into what the kafara is, but let's say somebody in the morning, zawal time, they have jama'ah and they feel really bad and they go and they free a slave, right? They give the kafara. But before maghrib, they did jama'ah again. What do they have to do? They have to give kafara again, right? 2 kafaras. 1 qada, but 2 kafaras. Because qada has to do with the day, but kafara has to do with the action. Tayyib. And if somebody does jama'ah and does kafara a second day, you did it one time, one day, and you did it second day, then again 2 kafaras because it has to do with the action. If somebody hadn't given kafara and did multiple jama'ah, then for each one there is kafara. Tayyib. Then we get to the issue of if somebody is required imsak, but they've already invalidated their fast. This is an interesting scenario now. Let's say you wake up and you decide, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. Astaghfirullah. Right? And you light up a cigarette. What happens to your sawm? Your sawm is invalid. You have to do qada. But do you have to have imsak or no? Do you still abstain from all the things like the one who's fasting? Yes. So you smoked a cigarette, you invalidated your fast, and then you're like, well, might as well go for jama'ah. And you make jama'ah, now your fast is invalid. Right? Do you have to do kafara? Yes. because imsak there constituted for you to stay away from those things. So you will still have kafara. Tayyib. If somebody if somebody travels, tayyib, and I'm going a little bit out of the matan to explain now. If somebody decides to go for safar, you and your spouse decide we're going to go and travel in the morning, right? And you decide we're not going to fast, even though it's a day in Ramadan, because we're traveling and it's going to be difficult. Perfectly fine. Now on that safar, if you have jama'ah, no kafara, right? But if somebody is muqim, you're still in your house, in your own locality, and you make jama'ah, and then you travel. Okay? So you were muqim when you made jama'ah, and you were fasting for Ramadan, and then you traveled later in the day. Is the kafara dropped? No. You guys understand that one? Okay, good. The same thing is true if somebody became sick later on in the day or lost their sanity. In all those cases, the kafara will still be applicable, because in the early time of the day, when you did not have any of those excuses, that's when the jima' happened. If somebody was sick in the morning and broke their fast with a valid sickness, and that means they don't have to do imsak here because they've broken their fast due to a valid reason that they're going to eat and drink and so on. And in that case, if they had jama'ah, then they would not have kafara or itham. The qada will be from the original breaking, not from jama'ah. Tayyib. And the muallif then he continues, وَلَا تَجِبُ الْكَفَّارَ بِغَيْرِ جِمَاعٍ فِي الصِّيَامِ الرَّمَضَانِ. There is no kafara except if there is jima', there is intercourse, and has to be a fasting in Ramadan. Okay? So we already discussed that it will not include nafal fasting or a makeup day for Ramadan and so on. Tayyib, what is the kafara? Tayyib, kafara, we talk about fidya and kafara and hajj, those are different. Here, there are 4 things, and they are in order. They are in order. So you need to always understand that there is an order here. You cannot pick and choose. You cannot say, I'll take this over the other. Tayyib, the first is to free a slave. Mu'tamadan in the madhab, and what is rajih, is a Muslim slave. Tayyib, so meaning that maybe some Muslim got enslaved somewhere, and you have the ability to go buy their freedom, and as your kafara, you go and you buy their freedom and you free them. Alhamdulillah, this is one of the ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated to end slavery. And even when a non-Muslim, for example, owns a slave, to free that slave and to free the people is through kafara. So this is the first. If you're able to do that, then you cannot do anything else. Today, alhamdulillah, we don't have slavery and we don't see that going on. So, unless you're in South Sudan or something, I don't think you'll be able to free a slave. So khalas, so that one is usually not applicable for us. Second, if you are unable to do that, then the second, which will be the usual case for us unfortunately, is fasting 2 months consecutively. 2 months. And that's separate from the qada of the day. The qada that you're doing of the day is separate. But 2 months without a break. And that's very difficult. So don't go down this path in the daytime in Ramadan. Control yourself, right? So 2 months in what sense? Lunar months, right? So, and they will be without break. And if you break, what is rajih? You start over. And if you break, you start over. Right? If you are physically unable, not that you don't want to, if you're physically unable to do that, then you feed 60 poor people. 60 poor people. And if you're unable to do any of those, meaning you don't have the ability to free a slave, you're physically unable to fast, not that you don't want to, because nobody wants to, but if you're unable to, and you don't have enough wealth to feed 60 poor people, then it's dropped. And this is all based on the hadith reported by Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, as reported in Al-Bukhari and Muslim, that the man who came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he explained it, Rasulullah gave him these ahkam. Sahih hadith, no doubt to it, so this is why. But understand when we say it's dropped, this is for the kafara of Sawm, not Hajj and fidya of Hajj and kafara of Hajj and al-yamin and all those. Those are different ahkam. But here, if you're unable to, then Allah forgives the person and it's dropped. Okay, we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala, and the makruhat and what is mustahab will be in the next dars, inshallah.